Great to see so many people. Hope you're having an awesome conference. I'm a bit tired because I've been worrying about my presentation, but let's see how it goes now. So my name is Erik. I've been working with Android since 2008. I've been working on all kinds of Android devices. Those who know me know that I'm known for doing weird projects. And I thought let's talk about weird Android devices. And they thought that was a good idea, so they let me do this keynote for that. At first I said, let's call it That's Not a Phone, but excluding the phones when we talk about weird Android devices is a bit unfair, so let's... Come on. Yes, That's Not Just a Phone is a better title for this talk. So we're gonna talk about phones as well. And, well, I just want to say that this is a 100% AI-free presentation. Which is not entirely true, but you'll see the point in the end. This is a house I bought a couple of years ago, me and my wife. We bought a couple of years ago. It was built in 1944, so it needed a lot of renovation. We started working on it, and I'm super happy. Now it looks like this. And what I want to say with that one, well, I bought a lot of power tools. Anyone here have a house? You know that you keep buying tools, and you keep buying it, and suddenly you have like a whole room full of power tools. That's the same for me. Most of the tools I used once or twice, but the one I use the most is this one. It's my trusted DeWalt power drill, screwdriver, and it's amazing how many use cases I found for it when I do my renovation. Okay, what's he talking about? This power drills, what is this? Well, it's not running Android, but it's a very versatile tool. You can use it in a lot of different things. You can cut big holes, small holes, you can screw it in screws, and you even have a power cleaning set for it. So anyway, it's very much like this little dude. It's very versatile. It can be used in a lot of different places. Sometimes very successfully, sometimes less so. And that's the thing we're gonna look at now. So let's look at both the successful ones and the less successful. So the first one I want to mention is a very dear device to me. Xperia X10 Mini. Anyone here had this phone? Oh, nice. I worked on this project. This was my very first Android project. I started by doing the music player app for this one, and then I moved on to working on the whole system things. It's small. It's that small. It's still the smallest Android device, I think. It was running Android 1.6, later got upgraded to 2.1, which is Eclair, I think. And the funny story about this one was that the Googlers weren't too happy about it because it was smaller than the smallest size of the LDPI screen, so they had to adjust the requirements for Android in order to fit it. Another fun story was that someone forgot to put the antenna on the GPS, on the PCB, just 3 weeks before production, so we had to go back and redesign the whole thing, and it got a little bit longer, about 5 millimeters longer. And this is how it is working with hardware. You discover things in the end, and someone goes hey, don't we need an antenna for this GPS? That is a requirement by Google. Yeah, we do. Another fun project we did was this one. So this X10 Mini was popular when it came out. We never really followed up on it, unfortunately. So small screens weren't the thing. Everybody wanted bigger screens, or at least that's what the manufacturers thought. This one had a bigger screen, and it had a PlayStation emulator. You can play, and the PlayStation controls. It got released with Gingerbread. It wasn't a huge success, and unfortunately, we really didn't follow up on it either. But another problem was it was very fragile, like any moving parts. And this is the reason why I'm very skeptical for the foldables also, having seen the challenges you have with moving parts in a device like this. But yeah, at least what it did do, it helped adding support for gaming controls and some exotic types of input into the Android APIs. The first foldable came 2011 from Kyocera. And this was like before Android had any support for multiple screens and anything, so it didn't really work well. It's very awkward to use. They basically used it as a single screen and just cut it off in the middle, which had some fun effects when you had a button that ended up on both. Yeah, not a success either. Samsung is known for the weird devices. Anyone had this? Me too. We bought all the devices we can find when we worked at Sony. It has a projector built in, which, at first it sounds like interesting, but then you start using it and you realize it's pretty pointless. The whole thing about cost came later, so it kind of replaced all the need to actually project something from your phone. But interesting that they managed to build it in there. It was like super heavy as well for that time. The whole thing about having some things that you could do with a phone and reduce the battery consumption was also a big talk around this time. So in 2014, the second version of the Jota phone came out. And it had an e-ink screen on the other side. So it had two screens. At this time, I think Android had like system-level support for multiple screens. Not entirely sure here. But also this one was like, economically, it was like really a flop. It didn't really succeed at all. Very few people bought it. But they showed that you can do it at least. So already done, but very few people bought it. I don't know if I don't think it even was launched in the US. So another interesting concept from Motorola came 2016. Anyone had one of these? Yeah. So it basically is like you have a regular Android phone and you can plug on adapters on the back that added functionality. There was a camera, there was also a projector, there was an extra large battery. There were probably much more things that I can't remember right now. I was at the launch party they had for this one, and I was like, oh, this is really cool, but I wonder if it's going to succeed. And it didn't. You can't buy it anymore. I think they canceled the whole line. Yeah. The first foldable was this one from a company I had never heard of, and I usually can keep track of most of the Android manufacturers. Royal, and the phone was called FlexiPi. It was a Chinese one, and it actually had like the whole screen folded on the outside like that. Kind of like the opposite of what we see the foldables today. Also didn't really succeed, but it was very early, so 2018, when the technology had just been announced, basically. It also was very fragile. It broke easily, so a lot of people complain about that one. I had a chance to test it out at an event, so I can also say that the screen wasn't great. But early on. Now, will foldables be a successful product category, or will it slowly disappear? It's too early to say. I don't know. I see more people using the flip than the actual foldable. So maybe the foldable screens will stay for the whole flippable phones, which can become smaller. But yeah, if it's something I've learned over the years, is that there comes out a new cool technology, and I say that will be very popular, and it isn't. That's because I'm an engineer and I think technology is cool, but regular people don't think like that. So I can't say if foldables will be a success or not. Now, let's leave the phones. Tablets. In 2009, we got the first tablet. It was called a tablet even. It was Arcos 5 Internet tablet, which means that there was probably 4 versions before that didn't run Android. This one ran Android. Did not have Play Store on it. So you couldn't download apps. It really didn't fit the form factor. It was like that big, sort of. But it wasn't, I would say it wasn't very suitable for the whole tablet category. Well, at least they tried. So a year later, Samsung was like, we're going to make something that competes with iPad or whatever tablets they thought it was. So the first Galaxy Tab came out in 2010. That's 14 years ago. And now they kind of defined how Android tablets are. Like everything is now like if Samsung does it, then someone else will do it as well. They're kind of defining the standard there. This was before there was official tablet support on Android, so it was basically just a large phone. But in 2011 came the Motorola Zoom. Anyone here had this one? Yeah. It was actually a really great tablet. It was less great Android version. First of all, this one was the one that introduced fragments to us, so thank you very much. But yeah, it got great reviews, actually. We'll go out and read the reviews for this one, and everybody's like, oh, super nice, it's gonna compete with the iPad 2, and it's probably gonna like shift that. Didn't happen. As usual, Google is very bad at following up on a great hardware, but at least we got the tablets defined as a category in Android. Wearables. So how many here has an Android Wear device? Yeah, because we're all geeks, we like that, so we buy those. So this wasn't the first Android Wear device. There was a Samsung one and an LG one the year before, but those had a square screen, and we don't like that. So, so Moto 360 was the first with a round screen, and it had all the features you would expect from a wearable watch like that. And well, I can say that pretty much nothing has changed. Feature-wise, these are almost the same, and it's like 10 years in between them. So I'm a little bit disappointed in the wearables, especially since it's called Android Wear and not Android Smartwatch. Where are the wearables? Except watches, please, Google. Nope, okay. Come up with something more than just a watch. That would be nice. Anyway, so nothing much is happening on the Wear side that runs Android in that way. Now, so anyone here was at Google I/O in 2012? I know most of you are quite young. A few of you, 2 people. Yes, I'm that old. In 2012 at Google I/O, they announced this device, the Nexus Q. The fun thing about that one was that the Android team didn't know about it. That was been done in the dark for them. So they were all like, also Nexus team was like, eh? It was the first like streaming device from Google, social streaming media player. It looked great. I still have it at home. It's very heavy. So I had to, like, when I came was gonna check in my luggage at the airport, they were like, what is this? Can't bring this. But it looked great. I think it would have fit as a piece of thing in your living room if you like that thing. But it didn't really do much. They didn't follow up with apps on it. It didn't really pan out at all. But what it did was set off a development of like TV boxes that was coming. I'm assuming most of you have some form of Android TV at home in any way. So let's look at how that worked. Like we had the Nexus player, which is up there on the right for me, which was kind of setting the standard for how the Android TV boxes would work. My personal favorite is the one up to the left there, the Ouija, and I think we have someone here actually in the audience who worked on that one, so you can go find him later. That was a Kickstarter project. It was hugely successful Kickstarter project, and when it released, it was like people were like, "Oh, awesome! I have a micro gaming console running Android. I can install apps. I can install my own firmware, etc., etc." It didn't pan out. Like it wasn't really a commercial success, but it was hugely popular among people who bought it. Sony, in their infinite wisdom, decided they should do a set-top box also, so they released the Internet Player with Google TV. That was the full name. It also has a product code that is like half a mile. It was only released in the US, as far as I know, maybe Japan also. And it's large. It's like a small desktop PC, basically. And it had like a Blu-ray player, and it had the remote control. It was huge, and the touchpad. If you turn it over, you have a full QWERTY keyboard. And we got them to the office in Sweden, and I plugged in the power. I heard, okay, something wrong. Was it the faulty unit? It was like this was a pre-beta unit before release. Okay, takes a sec. We got 3 of them. Put it aside. I check it later with the hardware people. Plug in the second one. Oh shit! And then I take a look at back, and it just supports 110 volts. Which was like, what? Who does this? Apparently Sony. So that was fun. So you couldn't really even use them in Europe without an extra transformer. And then came the one that still today is considered, I would say, considered the premium Android TV experience. It's the NVIDIA Shield. It's both a gaming console thing, because you get a game controller, and it has a great remote. I say, like, everybody should just buy that one. That's great. It is more expensive than the regular ones. Now, Android TV is probably the second category of Android devices that is getting most development, and there's most variation, most choice of devices. I wouldn't say variation, because they all look the same. So one very common thing is carriers that offer TV streaming. So you got the Vodafone here. They have their box, which was called Giga TV. And Telia, which is the largest Swedish carrier, they call their SDMC Telia player. SDMC is a company that built it. I don't know why they decided to call it that. But, I was working out on that project a little bit. All of these hardware is crap. Like, it's literally like the cheapest hardware they can get to put Android TV on it. The reason Android TV still allows 32-bit applications is because the hardware is so bad, so they can't really run 64-bit. It's a mess. So if you go to Amazon and search for Android TV, this is what it looks like. They're pretty much all the same hardware. Some have 2 gigabyte of RAM, some have 4 gigabyte of RAM, some support 8K, some don't support 8K. None of them really do support 8K. Yeah. And they're all mass-produced in China. A couple of factories that basically have their lines set up to just pump out these devices. And you can just order it, and you can like design your own case for it, and that's why you have this many variations. Some have Play Store, some don't. Some have an unofficial Play Store. Most of them have software you don't want there. Yeah. So that takes us to the in-flight infotainment. So this is basically anything you have in like airplanes, but also like in long-haul buses. Sometimes you have like the screen there. They are shifting over to running Android. I can't give you exact data which airlines, but you can pretty much see this when you look at the menus and everything. Also, in some airlines and some airplanes, if you plug in a USB cable and plug in your computer, you can get an ADB prompt, which is how I learned this. Yeah. So this takes me to what I think is the most exciting when it comes to the development of Android as a platform as a whole. It's the automotive track, because this has very strong regulations of how things should work, but it's also have a lot of requirement for supporting stuff that doesn't come out of the box of Android as usual. So the Polestar 2 came out a couple of years ago. It kind of became the poster child for Android TV, or Android Automotive. And it looks great, but it's just basically like a tablet you have in the middle there. But feature-wise, it has everything you need there. Now, we have moved on from them. So it's not just a tablet you have there, you have more displays. So if you look at the premium cars today, it can look like this. I mean, this is very expensive cars, but that's where it starts. So like you take the Mercedes up there on the left, it has like a whole screen that goes over the whole dashboard, all the sides, which is basically multiple displays side by side like that, like sitting very tight against each other. And Android needs to support multiple displays in a good way, which you find in Android Automotive with the whole system APIs they have there, called display cluster, and has a lot of fancy. If you go to source.android.com, you can read all about how this works. You want to be able to display stuff in the back seat or on the right display, and then move it to the other display, etc., etc. Android Automotive is being built for those use cases. It doesn't replace all the dashboard functionality because there are some driver safety things which needs a real-time operating system, but it's slowly taking over more and more of the dashboards. Which is great for you guys, because you're Android developers, and they need those people to write the software for this one. How about other vehicles? Anyone here have a motorcycle? A few of you. So you know that they are coming with dashboards on the handlebar, basically. Now that's a different challenge, because it's just one screen. It's small. There are some that has like bigger screens, like there is a 7-inch screens coming on some motorcycles today. But it's only one screen, and you still need to have like this safety-critical software running with the real-time stuff, very much certification going on, something that Android doesn't support today. So what you have here instead is the opposite from the cars. You need to share a screen with another device. And they do this in 2 different ways. Either you can have like 2 separate computers, one which runs Android Automotive, and one which runs a real-time operating system for the critical stuff. And then you stream the UI between those devices to a little window that can be resized. I'm not kidding, that's one solution. Another way is that you run Android in a virtual environment on a single computer, so you share the same CPU, basically. So that's nice. Today it looks like this. This is not Android Automotive, but you can imagine where it's going to move. So motorcycles is the next thing for Android Automotive, I think. Where you're going to see is there are already one bike, I think from Harley-Davidson did one, and there are more coming. And that takes us to the regular bikes, the e-bikes. And here you say, why would you run Android Automotive on an e-bike? Well, it basically has the same technology. It has a whole canvas inside here for controlling all the motors and sensors and stuff, battery, you name it. And then we're starting to get a display there to show information. They're also getting displays with apps there for navigation and other important features that you want when you're biking. And already in 2017, Li Echo came out with a smart bike with Android. It wasn't Android Automotive because that didn't exist back then, but they had their own custom version of Android there. Now, what? Big construction equipment doesn't have the same regulative requirements as cars and motorcycles, so you don't need to care about all this safety-critical like dashboard stuff in the same way. And you think, why? Well, you can't drive this on a road. They basically put that on a truck and then drive it away. But they have a huge amount of cameras and stuff that needs to be displayed inside the cockpit. How? Well, it looks like this today. And this is Android Automotive, a very customized version they do. This is a Volvo version. I know that the other construction equipment manufacturers do the same thing. So, like for instance, like some of these excavators, they have like 6 cameras or even more sometimes. So you want to see exactly where you're digging. You want to see behind you and all the time. They also have features inside these in order to coordinate with other excavators at the same site. So basically, you get a map, you get an overlay where everyone else. So there's lots of technology inside these, and they use Android Automotive to just basically display and visualize everything and connect all the stuff together. Android doesn't really support like 6 cameras, so they have done some like heavy modifications to get that working. And that means that it's also going to get pushed down. And eventually, Android Automotive is going to support more and more cameras for those features, which is really cool. So when I first learned about this and I talked to them, I was like, this is amazing. This is the vehicle I want to work on. They're like, cars? Nah. I'm basically 5. Headsets. They talk a lot about AR and everything like that. And most of the AR equipment does not run Android. They're basically just like a display that is like wireless connected or sometimes with a wire. But there are Android-based AR sets as well, and these are 3 of them. The ones that is most interesting, I think, is the RealWear HMT1, which is kind of like how Google Glass works, and it's for industrial settings. It's basically so that people who work with construction can get the drawings or schematics and stuff like that up displayed, or get notifications and warnings when they're on a building site. The Woo6 Blade is it's more like sci-fi. It's basically like you get a screen displayed in your field of vision like that, just regular glass form factor. And then you got the motorcycle helmet from Scully, which is an AR thing, which just displays an overlay on the glass. That's cool. I'm also skeptical about the whole AR for various reasons, because humans, we have some biological limitations on how things work with our eyes. But maybe we will see this evolve and be even better and better, hopefully. Coming to the end here, there is another category here that's called VoIP equipment, video conferencing systems. So Lenovo has a whole series here of video conferencing system which all run Android. And there are others. HP has the same thing. And on HP, you can actually switch between Windows or Android. If you choose Windows, you can only support Microsoft Teams. Now, what Lenovo has chosen here, and why HP also supports Android, is the reason there is, your customers who buy this video conferencing equipment, you don't know what video conferencing system they use. They might use Meet, they might use Teams, or Cisco's, or Zoom, or whatever. So they need to be able to support all of these, and therefore they put Android on them, because then they can provide it, just install the regular app on it, or let partners develop apps for them. So this is another area where there is possibility to develop Android apps in a very exotic form factor, which now brings us to your home. There, in 2013, an oven came out called D'accord, which runs Android, completely like custom version there. And the surprising thing, I thought there would be more Android-based home appliances, but there isn't. So the closest you get there is a Samsung Smart Hub, which basically, I think this one only exists in US. You see that the US size of the fridge and everything. It doesn't technically, sorry, it doesn't technically run Android. It runs Tizen, but Tizen is based on Android, so I'll still include it here. But it's hard to find others that actually do use Android. I have been in a prototyping project where we put Android on an oven a year ago. That was very fun. But apart from that, it doesn't really come out. And I think it's because it's still the home appliances only have one feature, that it's not just have a few buttons and it works. So they have really not found a use case where they need an advanced screen like that. Now comes into the business or the commercial side. So everyone here knows what Square is. We all use their libraries, but they make great hardware for their point of sales and the registers. So all of these devices that they manufacture are running their own AOSP version. It's basically like the point of sales solution for businesses, for restaurants and stuff like that in retail. Even the card terminal runs Android. And that is not unique. So there are lots of these companies that do white labeling devices for retail, all supporting Android. One of them is Zebra. They have the booth out here. I worked with the Zebra devices. They are great. The default UI they provide is not great, but that's not their task. So you can actually get your own apps and put that one in the front there instead, which is what we do, what we did. So anyone here done the self-scanning solution? You probably have them here in Germany as well. You run around with a scanner in the store and stuff like that. And the UI is usually really bad. And it's often web-based. And that's what we have here on the right. It's from one of the convenience stores in Sweden. And it's basically like the default UI from the point of sales provider that does web-based solutions in general. Now, why did they do an app? Well, have you seen how Wi-Fi work in these big stores? It's really bad, so they need to have a good offline support. So when we worked with the ones there on the left, it's for another retail chain in Sweden, we developed a whole UI framework. But most of the work was about handling offline scenarios, and that is why you put Android on this. So a lot of the work was actually around that. How does it work? How can we allow someone to scan something when they don't have a Wi-Fi signal at that point? Come talk to me later, I will explain. What happens when you do it wrong? So they have this pricing terminal or payment terminal, and basically what they did, they put an Android app on it, which is just a wrapper over the web view. So you guys have a lot of work to do if you go into the retail segment and want to work with Android. There's a lot of things to fix here. McDonald's runs Android on all their digital menus, apparently. So all of these, there are different manufacturers for all these screens, depending on region and everything, but they're all Android-based. So they basically let you do the whole purchasing, buying your McDonald's menu. That's cool. A manufacturer, an ODM for these that you can buy the devices from is called ELO. The ELO Interactive Digital Signage. You can get them in all sizes, and either portrait or landscape, and with additional hardware for card readers, etc., etc. So there are like big screens like TVs and smaller ones like just a few inches. And all of these, what they do is they provide the whole infrastructure for retailers or commercial businesses to adapt your own solution on top of them. They have their own MDM solutions and stuff like that. So this is something, if you go into this sector, you might probably run into the ELO devices as well. And then we come to the digital signage. So you've probably seen all these big screens out in the, in the cities. And they're not all running Android yet, because that business has been moving very, very slowly. But the hardware is there with Android support. This is Yada D77. It's one of the top-notch ones. It's basically like a really high-end Android TV. Support I think it was like 12K resolution or something like that, insane. And basically they just mount that one on these huge screens, and then they can run the advertisements on those. Again, this is a type of device that must function offline. Like it can't just continuously fetch stuff from the internet to know what to display. So this is offline capabilities is something you need to think of when you work with these kind of apps. And I was like, okay, can I find an example of what happens, how it can go wrong otherwise? And I found it on my way to the airport in Stockholm. So like this one, oh yeah. Anyone see the mistake here? I can say this one does not run Android. Well, it's like, this is the reason why you want to run Android on this, so you don't have this problem. You all know that, you all seen these advertisements or big screens where there's like the Windows logo or the blue screen or whatever. And you kind of can get away from handling all of those problems when you run Android because you have full control of the whole operating system. And that is why they're now in the digital signage sector starting to look at using Android for these things. The software side of how to display advertisement, it's unbelievably old. And I'm like, they're literally running PowerPoints sometimes. And not the PPTX, the PPT. Okay, that was the devices. So I mentioned this one. Offline capabilities, very, very important. Whenever you work with most of these devices, they have to be 100% functional even when the internet is gone. Well, you think it's easy. Well, they just store things online. Well, it's not that simple. Many times, these apps for these devices are built just like you would build a web app. And that's where things go wrong. Again, come find me. I will tell you how to solve it. The licensing. A lot of the old devices that we used to run where they needed a real-time operating system before had more limited hardware. The software for the operating system and anything else is enormous. Anyone here written Qt? C++? Yeah. You can get the open source version, you can start playing with it, but as soon as you want to use it in commercial, like real, it costs money. That's just for writing UI, and it's in C++, so have fun. And the open source means you can adapt everything on the whole operating system in a much better way, so you can adapt it to every piece of hardware, which then takes us to the hardware support. Hardware, every SoC manufacturer like NXP, Qualcomm, NVIDIA, this is the case I have here, but also like a bunch of others, they have ready-made Android base support packages, it's called, that you can just put on the device and start developing your own solution. It's really easy to get started with Android with this one. If you want to use another operating system, you can of course run bare Linux, but then you have to build a whole framework for your apps and UI yourself. But this one gives you the whole application environment for free and everything. Well supported by the manufacturers of these chipsets, with upgrades as well. Now, what's the future of Android then? So I'm not proud to say I bought it, but I did. This one, I like that everyone's laughing. I haven't even mentioned the name of what it is. So this is the AI something. You see, there was AI in this presentation. I'm sorry. I ordered it when it came out because they had this when I saw the announcement, I was intrigued. I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. I want to try it out. I ordered it. I forgot I ordered it, and it came a couple of weeks ago. And I get it, and I have seen the reviews, and the reviews are too nice. Because this is bad, unfortunately. And well, if you come up, I can let you play around with it. It's an AI pin. It's basically just an app over ChatGPT. And I hope this is not the future for Android, because that would be sad. I'm hoping we will see better devices. The only thing that I think is great with this one is that they have a completely different form factor that we used to, and I think we need to experiment with new form factors when it comes to our mobile internet devices. But maybe do a better job with the whole software and the experience in general. With that, I'm coming to the end here. My bet, if I would bet on the future of Android when it's not on smartphones, I would say the cars is the first thing, but the other thing is in the retail, like the scanners, the point of sales, the terminals, and all of those things. Card payment terminals, they struggle a lot. I know I get a contact sometimes from companies that are gonna put a card payment terminal in their retail chain, and they don't have the Android developers, they only have backend and web developers, and they really struggle to get this working. So there's a lot of opportunities there. So that's it. So retail, cars, probably not wearables because, well, we got enough watches. But with that, I'd like to thank you very much. Hope you have a great conference. So thank you so much for listening.